Hey everybody, it's Daniel. Welcome back to Learn Spanish with Daniel, the best YouTube channel to learn Spanish with a guy named Daniel. The title pretty much says it all. It's been a while since I've done a video here. I'm sorry. I've got an hour now and nobody's paying me to do anything right now. So let's talk about shellfish. Actually, let's talk about fish and shellfish. I did an article on the blog about this, and I thought it would be nice to hear the pronunciation of some of these words also. So I'll put a link to the blog post down below, and you can read it if you would like. Fish and shellfish in Spanish is a big topic. I came to Spain from Arizona. I had no idea what I was getting into food-wise. I thought I knew, the names of foods, but learning how to say zanahoria is one thing. Then you go to a bar or a restaurant and realize they do not have carrots on the menu. So your use of zanahoria is of limited utility. They do have things like berberechos, though, on the menu, and if you don't know what berberechos are, well, you're a bit out of luck, Spanish-wise. So I've got a list of fish and shellfish, and let's just talk about it. First off, fish can be pez, or it can be pescado. Pez, the plural is peces, and this refers to fish in the ocean or fish in the river or the lake, living fish. Pescado is generally used as a mass noun. It doesn't have a plural, and it's used for fish after it's been caught. So, fish the food product, fish in the market, pescado. If you're going to buy pescado, you go to a pescaderia and you buy pescado. Pescaderia is the fishmonger. I find the word fishmonger to sound either ridiculous or, slightly offensive in American English. None of the monger words tend to be a good thing in American English. But in British English, I've heard that fishmonger is just the way they say it. Anyway, you could call it the fish market if you wanted to. So the pescado, the pescaderia, is one thing. Shellfish is another thing to talk about. Shellfish is marisco. Marisco. This is usually invertebrate sort of, animals that live in the ocean. So you've got pescado and you've got marisco. You could go to a restaurant called a marisqueria. Marisqueria is not a shop. Pescaderia would be a shop. Marisqueria is usually a restaurant where they would serve seafood platters, possibly some rice dishes, but seafood emphasis, rice dishes. And yeah, marisqueria. It's just a kind of restaurant where you can go nuts on 88 different kinds of shellfish if you want. You might say that a marisqueria is a seafood restaurant, but a lot of typical Spanish restaurants will have like a meat menu and a fish menu. It'll all be on the same menu, but they'll have their appetizers or whatever. They'll have a section for meat stuff. They'll have a section for fish stuff. They might call it bizarre things. Things are getting ever more gourmet and hipsterish around here, but it's all the same concept. It's protein. So let's talk about the regular sort of fish first. I've got the names of various kinds of fish, and we'll see what happens. Notice that in the UK, for example, fish and chips, they don't even tell you what kind of fish you're getting. It's probably cod or something, but, they're delightfully non-specific. Here, they will be very specific about what kind of fish you're getting. So here's 10 or 12 different kinds of fish. Salmon is salmon. Salmon. The L is not silent in Spanish. Salmon. Atún is tuna. Atún. I don't know how they got it backwards like that, but atún. There is bonito. Bonito is officially in English, it's also bonito. It's a kind of tuna. It's like a smaller tuna. Anyway, that's bonito. So you might see bonito or bonito del norte on a menu. Bonito del norte you would see in a can, I think. But yeah, bonito, it's the same thing as tuna, basically. There is merluza. Merluza is hake. Merluza. It's like a long white fish, basically. If you don't know about these in English, don't worry. I knew the word mackerel before I came to Spain from, reading it in a novel years ago. Charles Dickens wrote the word mackerel once or twice or something. I have no idea. But yeah, I had no idea what a mackerel was. Some kind of fish. Well, it is some kind of fish. Let's talk about that right now before we get back to merluza. Mackerel is caballa. Caballa, which is not a seahorse. Caballo is horse. Generally, caballa is mackerel. No relationship between these two animals. I think seahorse is something like caballito de mar, which is a pretty specific translation of seahorse. On the topic of merluza, we have huevas de merluza. This is something you might see on restaurant menus in, seafood heavy locations. Huevas de merluza. This is going to be like the egg sac. I don't know if it's exactly the ovary. Do fish have ovaries? You should probably consult a biologist about that. But it is like the eggs, the fish roe, possibly is a way you could say it. Not caviar. Caviar is salmon, I guess, and it's another complex story. But this is sort of a, little ball of much smaller balls, the smaller balls being the eggs. It's not bad. It's not amazing either. But if you have a chance to get a tapa of huevas de merluza, you might enjoy it. Notice that hueva is a feminine form of huevo being egg, like normal chicken egg, de toda la vida. Okay, so that's merluza, and that is caballa. We have bacalao. Bacalao is cod. Bacalao. Bacalao is often served, or it's often sold packed in salt, so you have to desalt it for a day before cooking it. This is just the old way of preserving fish. Salt cod, it's a thing. So yeah, make sure if you buy cod that it's fresh, or if it's salt cod, make sure that you desalt it before serving. It'll be real bad otherwise. Sardinas are sardines, no mystery there. Sardinas. Anchoas are anchovies. Anchoas. These are the typical like black anchovies. Boquerones, I believe we might call them white anchovies somewhere. I saw them on a menu the other day that was translated as white anchovies at least. Boquerones are pickled in vinegar. So yeah, it's just another way of serving them. It's the same fish as the anchovy, I believe. It's just a different way of serving it. So anchoas for the salted ones that you might get on a pizza, and boquerones for the pickled ones. I really like the pickled ones, but it's an acquired taste. Pez espada is swordfish. Espada is sword, and pez is the fish. In this case, you don't call it pescado espada if it's in the market. It's just pez espada still. We have dorada. Dorada is, I always find this name hilarious in English. It's gilt head bream. I have no idea if anybody's ever eaten this in an English-speaking country, because I don't know if I was back home on the ranch in Arizona and my mom was like, "We're having gilt head bream for dinner," I would think she was out of her mind. But yeah, dorada. It's a common fish. It's kind of, round and flat and white fish, neutral flavor. Pretty good. We have lenguado. Lenguado is flounder. Do you know what a flounder looks like? I know what a flounder looks like, but it's once again, not super common to talk about flounder with your Anglo-Saxon friends. Lenguado. We have corvina. Corvina is a type of sea bass. Here in Spain, it's common as the main ingredient for ceviche. Ceviche, the Peruvian, cured fish. Not even cured. Cured in lemon juice. It's not cooked. They just, put some lemon juice or something acidic on it and serve it like that. It's great. I don't know if it's common in the US at this point. Here we've had a ton of Peruvian immigration over the last couple of decades, and there's lots of ceviche out there. It's awesome. You should try it. But yeah, corvina is a sort of sea bass that is common in ceviche. So on a restaurant menu, you could be seeing ceviche clásico, ceviche de corvina as like the names of these things. Talking about shellfish, first we have gambas and langostinos. Gambas are shrimp, langostinos are prawns. Prawns are just bigger shrimp as far as I know. So gambas and langostinos. We have almejas. Almejas are clams. Almejas. We have mejillones. Mejillones are mussels. Mejillones. In some restaurants and in some regions, it's common to get mejillones al vapor, which would just be steamed mussels. Vapor is steam. Same word as vapor, but spelled exactly the same as vapor, but pronounced differently because Spanish is different. Mejillones al vapor. We have langosta and we have bogavante. These are both types of lobster. Langosta, as far as I know, is the standard word for lobster, and then bogavante is some kind of more specific regional lobster. I don't know. Out here, I'm pretty sure you would usually just get bogavante as your lobster. We have oysters. Oysters are ostras. Ostras. Ostras reminds me of a girl that I used to date. She was nice Catholic girl. She didn't want to use profanity. So instead of saying ostia, which is not even profanity, just kind of an exclamation, she would say ostras as an exclamation. Ostia is actually the host from the Catholic Mass. They use it as an exclamation like, damn, or something like that, kind of if you're surprised or whatever. But since it is religion-based, I guess this girl found it to be too risque, maybe. She wasn't that puritanical about other things, but, ostras. Anyway, so yeah, ostia, ostras, ostras being literal oysters that you could eat. They're not super common, but they're, in expensive restaurants, you can get them for $4 each or something. It's a thing. We have calamares. Calamares are squid. Calamares. You might see something called pota, which is also a kind of calamar. If you're buying like frozen squid, it might be pota instead of calamar, but the basic effect is the same. In restaurants, they'll call it calamares. They might call it chipirones. Chipirones are baby squid about this big. Different regions have different words for these things anyway. I think here in Barcelona, chipirones are about this big, and the ones that are this big are something else. But, regional vocabulary. All this is complicated, of course, by Spain's regional vocabulary and also the different languages that are spoken. Here in Catalonia, there's a couple of, Catalan things that they just call by the Catalan names, and that's that. If you go to Galicia, there's other things that are regionally called, something in Gallego, and you will pick it up when you're there. One of the Catalan ones is suquet de pescado. Suquet is just like a fish soup that's got a sort of tomato and almond base, I believe. I only had it once. It was okay. The other one, esqueixada. Esqueixada I like a lot. I think it's the cod, like desalted cod with some olives and maybe some other chopped up vegetables, and they serve it. I don't think it's even necessarily really cooked. It's just kind of a cold cod thing. that they put on a plate in sort of a cylindrical, cake. I don't know, cake is not the right way of describing it, but that's the format, let's say. It's pretty good. It's like, I've seen it translated as Catalan ceviche, but, it's very different than regular ceviche. Wrapping this up, we have sepia, which is cuttlefish. Sepia, cuttlefish with a double T. I'm just saying it like cuddle, like, let's cuddle. But cuttlefish, this is like a big kind of squid. I don't know that we ever ate them back in the US, but maybe somebody was. I knew cuttlefish because if you have like a pet bird, it would have a cuttlefish bone in its cage to, eat the calcium, I believe, was the reason for that. So cuttlefish, it's a big squid, and you can get it a la plancha, perhaps, sepia a la plancha. Pretty good stuff. Finally, we have pulpo. Pulpo is octopus. There are different ways of serving this. You could have pulpo a la gallega, Galicia-style octopus. You could have pulpo a feira, which as far as I know is about the same thing, just a different way of calling it. Anyway, any dish that says pulpo is going to be octopus. Finally, berberechos. Getting back to what I mentioned at the beginning, I still don't know what berberechos are. The official English word is cockles. It's a very small shellfish of some kind. Berberechos, cockles. You can get them in cans. They have a lot of they call it conservas here, sort of nice, high quality fish in cans that you can pay as much money as you could possibly want. I've seen canned fish for 40 euros for a normal, sized can. I don't recommend that. Get the normal stuff. It's fine. But yeah, you can get berberechos en lata, cockles in a can. I don't know. Whatever. So, as usual, I hope you've enjoyed this video. This was not an exhaustive list of every fish and shellfish on the planet. It's, it's a couple dozen, and that'll get you started. Go to my blog, expatmadrid.com, for more. I'll put a link to the specific article about fish and shellfish, seafood, if you wish, down below, and you can check that out. There's a little bit more information about ways to prepare it, expressions involving fish, like colloquial expressions involving fish, stuff like that. It'll be fun. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. Subscribe to the channel, give me a like, and feel free to support the channel, expatmadrid.com/donate. For that, you can buy me a virtual coffee. It'll be awesome. Anyway, have a great day, and hasta la próxima. Bye.